Hello, folks. Breaking news from Washington Post, who late in the afternoon of Monday, August 11th, 2025, published a report written by Adam Taylor, Hannah Nathanson, and Meg Kelly. The title is U.S. Escalates Human Rights Criticism of South Africa and Brazil. Leaked draft reports reviewed by the Washington Post lean into President Trump's contested claims about perceived political foes, fueling disputes at the Department of State. Now, what they're trying to tell you in this story is that this is unusual, and it's a politicization of the Human Rights Report that's done annually by DRL, a Bureau of the State Department for Democracy, Human Rights, and Labor. DRL does these reports. I've participated in the past in contributing to these reports while working in embassies, reporting on the behavior of security and military forces of the countries where I was assigned, whether they commit human rights abuses, unlawful detention, martial law, things like that. So it's an annual report, and this one's been delayed. Apparently, there's discussion of the treatment of South Africans, racial minorities, and white Afrikaners in particular in this report. Now, the report states a number of things according to them, but the only one they actually share with us is the following: that the Trump administration says land expropriation of Afrikaners and further abuse against racial minorities in the country, according to the draft. That's the only thing they talk about here. Now, this comes in the wake of a visit to South Africa recently by political appointee Samuel Sampson, who went there and wound up drafting the report because apparently some of the folks in DRL refused to contribute to the report because they felt there was false and misleading information. Well, the crux of this article is that these are illegitimate claims about Brazil and about South Africa, and nothing can be further from the truth. Both have legitimacy, and I don't need human rights reports compiled by DRL to tell me that these things are happening. And an observant bystander could see these things are happening in South Africa. But here's the bottom line with this, folks. This is a potentially hugely damaging report, human rights report, that will be probably made public sometime very soon based on the fact that it's already been leaked. It does get turned into Congress. That's an annual requirement from the executive branch to Congress, human rights reports in every country. So this report goes into Congress today, the 12th of August, 2025. And how soon before it's leaked to the press? Might just be a matter of minutes or hours, or maybe it'll be days or weeks. But very soon this report will come to light. And what will likely occur as a consequence of what it appears will be an explosive report condemning South Africa for human rights abuses against racial minorities. What will likely come out of this is an impetus once Congress comes back from recess to move forward in the House of Representatives to vote on Ronnie Jackson's bill to consider sanctioning leading members of the African National Congress and the government of South Africa. That's the likely outcome here, folks. This is not going to look pretty for South Africa. It is not going to look pretty. That's the bottom line here. A potentially explosive report about human rights abuses in South Africa, which has merit in my mind. Now, I don't know what Mr. Samuelson said or why members of DRL decided to not do their job, which they get paid to do. If you don't agree with what the report says, then put a disclaimer in there. That's part of the process, and it gets adjudicated. So I don't know what happened there. But the bottom line is that this report could be very damaging to the African National Congress and its racist legislation in South Africa. We shall see. Things are moving fast vis-a-vis South Africa and the behavior of its government, its uncaring behavior towards its racial minorities being exposed to the world. No longer can this be covered up. The media can do their best to try to mislead and distract, which the Washington Post does more than once in this article with dishonest reporting. But the world knows what's going on in South Africa now, or at least is paying attention. And that's all courtesy of not me. I've been exposing this for years inside the intelligence community. Had no effect there, and doing it in the private sector as an independent journalist for 5 years now with very little impact. Now, finally, the Trump administration is paying attention. The United States sat by and allowed apartheid to develop because of the Cold War. We helped end apartheid, and we sat back and allowed this atrocious imposition of racial discrimination to be applied in South Africa and the callous disregard for the sanctity and dignity of human life. And now, the chickens are coming home to roost for South Africa. What say you, South Africa? Mzansi. America, this affects us and our policy going forward. What do you say? Cheers.